Chapter 22, Shadow of a Doubt. A few moments later, the pair were sat opposite each other in the vast library of Saxby Hall. Strauss's legs dangled off the sofa. They were too short for his feet to reach the carpet. Stella tiptoed back over to the door and closed it as gently as she could. She didn't want to wake her aunt, who was still sleeping upstairs. "What have to remember, miss," the detective told Stella, "is that there is a huge public interest in this case. The Lord and Lady of the great house losing their lives in a motor car accident. It was front page of all the newspapers." Stella hadn't thought about this. It must have been quite a story. Of course, as with any fatal accidents, there followed a thorough police investigation by a team of vast detectives from Scotland Yard. "They did?" asked Stella. "Of course, miss. And after sifting through all the evidence and interviewing all the witnesses, a team of the finest police detectives concluded there could be no possible signs of foul play." "They said it was just an accident?" asked Stella. The detective was incredibly compelling, and she was slowly coming round to his way of thinking. Yes, they did, miss, without any shadow of a doubt. Not even a shadow of a doubt, or indeed a shadow of a doubt. And do you know the one person who came out of this whole story as the hero of the hour?" "No." "Your beautiful Aunt Alberta." The little girl was shocked, not least at her aunt being described as beautiful. "She was the first on the scene of the crime. Accident." The girl had no idea. "Really?" Just then, the door of the library slowly opened. Stella jumped out of her seat. Could it be Aunt Alberta? As the door swung open, it revealed Gibbon. The ancient butler entered the room. He was holding his silver tray. A pair of burning slippers was arranged on it. "Your toasted crumpets, your Royal Highness," he announced with a flourish. "Let me just put them down on the table for you, sir." With that, Gibbon dropped his tray to the floor, sending the hot buttered slippers flying into the air, one of the slippers landing in the detective's lap. It was clearly roasting as he winced in pain. "Ow!" As quickly as he could, the detective brushed it off his lap and onto the floor. But Gibbon wasn't finished yet. "If you require anything else, sir, I'll just ring the best bell," he said, producing an egg timer from his pockets of the dusty frock coat. He balanced the egg timer carefully on the detective's head. "I will be in the library." Then the butler bowed and left the library, closing the door behind him. An irritated Strauss took the egg timer off his head and threw it to the floor. "Don't mind him, detective," said the girl. "That's just the butler, Gibbon." "The man is an imbecile. He should be taken out and flogged." Not sold, whipped. I know, not nice of the detective at all. Stella knew Gibbon was by no means the best butler in the world. In fact, he might well be the worst. Still, what Strauss had just said was incredibly harsh. "Now, where were we?" continued the detective, clearly irritated by the interruption. You were telling me that my aunt was the first on the scene," prompted the girl. Yeah, yes, miss. And the wonderful woman tried desperately to revive your mother and father." "She did?" The girl was gobsmacked. "Yes, miss. Sadly, there was nothing she could do. They were both killed instantly." Stella shuddered at the thought. "Alberta did manage to save you, though. She risked her own life pulling you out of the wreckage of the burning car." The little girl took this in. Sorry," she mumbled. Sorry, I had no idea." The detective seemed to know a lot more about what had happened than she did. Of course, the accident had sent Stella into a coma, so it was hardly surprising. But now she was beginning to feel guilty about accusing her aunt. "Miss, you are very lucky to have an aunt like Alberta. She is a kind and caring lady, beautiful, talented, the best auntie in the world. Of course, you were in hospital at the time of the funeral, but you should know how your aunt spoke with great affection in the church. She clearly loved your poor brother and his wife with all her heart. Miss Alberta even sang a wonderful piece of German opera for all the mourners as the two coffins filed out. She has a truly remarkable singing voice. What? Thought the girl. Stella had had the misfortune of hearing her aunt singing many times over the years, and it sounded like a cat being throttled. She brought every single person in the church to tears, continued the detective. Probably because her singing was so terrible, replied the girl. That is a wicked thing to say, but the detective. How dare you? The anger frightened the little girl, and she immediately apologized. I shouldn't have said that. You should be ashamed of yourself, miss, he shouted. She is a world-class opera singer. Stella felt like bursting into tears. This was turning out into quite a telling off. Sorry, she mumbled. You should be. And whatever you do, don't blub. I cannot abide blubbering nippers. Now, where were I? Yes, 2 months after the funeral, Miss Alberta discharged you herself from the hospital. She knew no one could care for you better than your favourite auntie. Despite the power of his words, somehow Stella still wasn't entirely convinced by the detective. Then, why did she lock me in the coal cellar? Strauss looked ruffled for a moment. I imagine if she did indeed place you there, he was choosing words very carefully now, it must have been for your own good. No doubt you were in shock after finding your parents had been killed in an accident. Shock can lead people to do very strange things. Perhaps, miss, you were trying to run away from home, am I right? There was no doubt that Strauss was a brilliant detective. He seemed to be able to deduce anything. The man knew the answers to questions he hadn't asked yet. Yes, admitted Stella. I was trying to run away. I thought as much. And in this awful weather you could have caught your death of cold, and we can't have that now, can we, miss? No, replied the girl. Not just yet, murmured the detective under his breath. What did you say? Demanded Stella. Nothing, miss, replied Strauss innocently.